My childhood was the exact opposite of simplicity. I switched schools every year, and every year it was the same thing all over again. Hi, sweetie, you'll sit here with XYZ, and it doesn't matter if XYZ likes you or not, you're going to learn to make friends. Chaotic, if you ask me. 2010 was the first turning point of my life. I had already been on the planet for about 6 years, seen a lot of things, but didn't understand most of it. My dad got a promotion that year, and we shifted to the United States of America to live out our part in the American dream. I joined Wheatley Elementary School, and I learned that we don't love everyone. A lot of our actions are based out of self interest, and compassion for all was a very supplementary ideal, something we write in our textbooks but fail to abide by. I was introduced to the concept of bullying, racial injustice, and all the other big words you can think of. I was mocked for the way I looked and the way I spoke. Now, the kids around me, they were second graders too. But because it was difficult for them to categorize me as black or white, they chose the easy way out, which was bullying in its most harsh sense. I spent the entire year in my nurse's office, who was the only person who was actually nice to me, and made an effort to understand where I had come from. I loved her because she was fascinated by the idea of a flat bread made of whole wheat, stuffed with potatoes, spices, and herbs. Aloo paratha, as we call it. The next year became my second turning point when I switched schools again, and this place defined my interests, my passion, my hobbies for me. I never asked them to, they just did, and I never questioned it. Hyde Elementary was amazed at how I could do mental math and spell words, and I wouldn't have trouble remembering all of them. So they had me participate in math bowls and spell bees, where I was the smart Indian girl. My first spell bee, I spelled the word scissors incorrectly. My second spell bee, I had already beaten several 5th to 6th graders, made my way towards the top 3, and on my final word, drum roll please, I heard it wrong. The word was composition, I heard comprehension. Now, the amount of anger that built up in me at that point was exceptional. I ran off the stage crying, barely acknowledged my principal, my teacher standing there, right into my mother's arms. But as fast as that anger built up in me, when my principal handed me a red t-shirt with my name on it, saying that I had been elected to the student council, it was rainbows and sunshine all over again. I was blinded by the compliments I was receiving at Hyde. I started to believe that my specialty was defined by my ability to do math and spell a couple of words. I still hadn't realized that what they were doing was for their own glorification. And the entirety of my 4th and 5th grade went into the belief that I had already found my true calling. I knew what I had to do with my life. And I was so grateful for everyone around me, that how kind everyone was. When I came back to India, I realized that everyone could do mental math, mug up textbooks. It wasn't anything special, that's how our system works. So, after this grave discovery, I started to understand things around me. Now, it wasn't in one day when I realized that, okay, I'm not special. I need something that would bring back all the glory that I had at Hyde. And I had to be special. It was a need for me. So, throughout those months of just, understanding what's going on around me, it was just Freddie Mercury asking, is this the real life? Is this just fantasy? Because for 3 years, I spent my life chasing after fantasies. When people ask me what has been the best year of my life, at least till this point, I usually don't have an answer. But because I love filling out those random surveys where you find out which vegetable you are or which TV series character you portray, I have to say 7th grade. 7th grade was when I attended my first training session to model United Nations. I was fascinated by the idea of students representing delegates from different nations and discussing all these issues that impact us all. A simulation of worldly issues where we make subtle remarks at each other or represent the great nations themselves. I loved it. The best part of those 3 days was when Mr. Anansh sir, he entered our class and he very randomly asked me, "How many steps did you take today to get to class?" I was very keen to answer because I had seen this person's face in the PPT that they just showed us, so I knew he was an important figure. And because I love to show off how knowledgeable I am, I quickly started to do the math. Carry the 1 plus 48, divide by 5. After an awkward silence, Anand sir stopped me and he said, "Even if you had given me a random number, I wouldn't have questioned it." Spontaneity. That was the lesson there. You know those moments when you're just so inspired by everything, you're ready to dive in, there's no place for a second thought. That little interaction with Anand sir was my moment. It was when I decided that public speaking, spontaneity, was going to be my differentiating factor. So after this self-realization moment and months of commending myself, I realized that public speaking, not so easy. People usually don't listen to others. I don't usually listen to others. So how do I make sure I'm different and I can actually make something out of public speaking? My first Model UN was a failure. Nobody told me this, but I found out on the last day when they didn't give me anything. I was sitting at the last bench waiting for them to call my name, saying that "Delegate of China, you have won this," but they didn't call me. The entire event was over and I was just sitting there. This was despite 2 days of going on and on about how confident I was, and despite being so young, I knew all my facts. It was height all over again. I let the praises get the best of me and I had my expectations. So again, I ran home crying right into my mother's arms. But this time, my mother was just as stubborn as I was. She made me go to another training session the next year, and this is where I met Muneeb sir. Muneeb sir helped me comprehend that I had learned something in my first Model UN. I knew more about the world than I ever had before, and I had that urge in me to learn more. Fast forward to 11th grade, I have participated in over 40 Model United Nations conferences, been part of several youth parliaments, and have organized events myself. I love talking about everything you could possibly think of, surrounding the fact that I want to be the president of Norway, but that's a topic for a different day. And today, I'm actually giving a TED Talk. The point of this entire story was to highlight one major fact. We learn on our own, and nobody arranges that knowledge, that experience for you readily on a buffet. That's what differentiates this century of learning. When we talk about 21st century learning, we have a lot of questions that come up. Why? How? And we're going to try answering those questions today, but because I'm not an expert either, we're going to get there together. And hopefully by the end of this, you and I, we have a lot of food for thought. First things first, let's learn this fact, put it in our system. These skills that we're talking about, they're already there. We already have them in us. We're all experts at leadership, flexibility, communication. It takes a bit of time to apply, but they're there. Secondly, the importance of these skills cannot be put up for questioning. They have been important since the concept of learning came up for the first time. Okay, but again, why would anyone want to spend time learning these skills? We are busy people. We barely get time for ourselves. Why take out the time for these so termed important skills? I believe that question answers itself. We are busy people. We barely get time for ourselves. So it becomes important for us to take a pause every once in a while and understand what's going on around us. Take cognition of our environment. When we do that, we find ourselves applying all these skills automatically. Okay, one question somewhat answered. Moving on to the next one, accepting this reality. How do we accept that these skills that we're talking about, we have to learn them on our own? Nobody's going to come to us one fine day and teach us everything there is about communication, leadership, and voila, we're experts. My mom once told me, whatever you do, make sure that you're not dependent on others to build yourself up. And my dad said, make sure that the remote to your life is always in your hands. I believe that explains everything. Our education system attempts to teach us a lot of things and reach our full potential. But something like these 21st century skills, they cannot be taught on a piece of paper. I cannot hand you a textbook and you learn everything there is about these skills. People still have a hard time when it comes to reading the clock. If I tell you to go to a kindergartner right now, teach them how to read a clock, you will come back with a massive headache, questioning your entire existence. Because their main question would be why. And answering that why is very, very difficult. And we're talking about skills like communication, innovation, leadership, flexibility, critical thinking. We live in a world where public speaking is regarded as the second biggest fear amongst humans. Death being the first one. 77% of the population, that's not a small number. So how do we inculcate these skills? As I've repeatedly said today, nobody can come to you and teach you them. They can give you the opportunities. They can make you think about it. But at the end of the day, it's all you. You decide how you're going to be a global citizen, how you will be a critical thinker, how you will be a good communicator. Let's look at a few questions that should give you that final food for thought. The first one, what can I do to change my life right now? The big question that comes up at 3 a.m. when you just randomly wake up and you're like, I'm ready to change my life. I will wake up early, I will be very productive, I will go to the gym, I will eat healthy. But the next day you find yourself lying in bed again with a pizza and procrastinating. Because same. The second question, will I let this so-called minor moment impact me in a big way? The third one, should I draw inspiration from the people around me right now? And the last one, am I ready to make amends if it means the next day would be better? When we ask ourselves these questions, which I promise come up at least once in our day, we're applying all those skills that 21st century learning preaches of. We're thinking about where we're going wrong, what we can do right. That's all I want to tell you today. The learning in this century is all about you and the power that you have. You decide what you will do and when you will do it. Your decisions impact you before anybody else. You decide the people you want to love, you want to live with, or whom you want to have an impact on. So when that metaphorical remote that my dad told me about, when that stays with you, you decide your journey, no matter what the destination may be. And with these skills, with these 21st century skills, your journey, it becomes easier. Thank you.